Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the half. As you guys know, this is our unstructured, unsupervised, and generally without a topic 30 minutes of just having fun with all of our friends in the decoration industry. I'm usually here with Aaron Montgomery. Today, Aaron could not be here, so we will maybe be alone for a little bit, but it looks like I may have a special guest who comes on down the track. But what I'm going to offer up and say is if you guys have anything you want to talk about, whether this is embroidery, decoration, industry related, business related, sales related, whatever it is that is in our industry, please jump in the comments, jump in live and chat. I'm happy to have you guys in and engaging. And there's lots to talk about. I don't know if you guys saw the Two Other Guys episode today, if you guys tuned in to see Josh Ellsworth from Stalls. But if you didn't, I'm going to go ahead and recommend that. I don't always like to turn this show into the after show for the Two Other Guys, but I will say at least that this particular show, we went into bonus time. I sat in as a host. So if that's something you want to see, I was there. Uh, Josh gave incredible information on how to turn any business toward profit, let alone just things about heat press. So incredible stuff from Josh. And I've got to say, go check in Josh Ellsworth. Absolutely rocked it out of the park. So tworegularguys.com is where it will eventually live. Go check us out on all the socials after you're done with this show. It's a good one to listen into whenever we have a chance. But I'll definitely say you want to be part of that hashtag replay squad if you missed out on that one, because Josh gave us incredible stuff about being profitable. One of the couple things actually I want to say as takeaways from that show today that I think would be useful to anyone here are these. That he was laying out a quadrant and he said, all right, you got your X and Y axis, and we have more high end gear on one side, or more high end decoration on one side, and more high end gear or more high end apparel accessories on these two kind of XY axes. And he's saying a lot of people are trying to be in quadrant one, where we're giving the lowest price stuff with the least amount of input, and that's our quadrant one. But we want to be in quadrant four for profitability, which is things that have more valuable decoration options, things that have a little bit more to them, they're interesting, that provide a little bit more than our basic, say, like cut vinyl decorations, and that have high-end garments that we're selling. If we can find people who are in that quadrant four, we end up with a higher profit margin. Now, the numbers that he was bringing up, and Stalls does a lot of study, so there are real numbers involved in this, where the people who are working in that quadrant four, we're getting 4x profit margins in comparison to like quadrant one. So if we can get ourselves into a place where we're doing high-end decoration on high-end apparel for the right clients, even though we might have fewer of those clients, we're opening up more time by making the same amount of profit, the same amount of money with less time. So opening up things and having opportunity cost get calculated, that is huge. That is huge. So like I said, something I would love for you guys to tune into. It was an incredible episode earlier today, and something that I think is well worth checking out. So Two Regular Guys with Josh Ellsworth talking about profit and heat press, completely worthwhile, worth your time. Listen to that on the replay squad if you didn't catch it earlier today. With that, let's say hi to a few people and grab some comments. Like I said, you've got questions, comments, things you want to ask, things you want to discuss. By all means, jump in with them. But so far, we have Chuck coming in today saying, "Afternoon, Eric." Well, afternoon, Chuck. Happy to have you in. Mike is in saying, hello, Mike. Happy to have you on as well. Ramona says, like, apropos of nothing, fish. Good talk about fish. I started a small aquarium 2 weeks ago, and oh my god, I don't require it being so intense. Yeah, no, that is something. When I was a kid, I had fish, and something I don't do now. But we have cats, and my wife is a cat lover. Absolutely a cat fanatic, and we have 6 cats. So fish are not really something I'm looking into messing around with right now. 6 cats are enough cats for any size house. Let me tell you, 3 cats are probably enough cats for any size house. But when you rescue and you love them, it's hard not to keep them around. If you guys want, eventually, I've been requested before when I say I have cats to show all the kitten pictures. They are young cats. Maybe we'll do kitten pictures. I will try and do more kitten pictures at some point, because I know some people who are, if you're cat people, you're already asking me where the cats are. All right, later for the cat people, kitten pictures on the social will have to happen. And by the way, very prescient here. Yosta says, "Hi all, and where's Jeff?" Jeff's probably going to come in. That's the possible special guest. I said there may be a possibility for that. He's trying to join when he has a second. If he can join in, we will have Jeff in. If he doesn't manage to make it, that's cool too. We'll just sit and chat and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. But suffice it to say, we will be happy if we can get Mr. Jeff in. So Jeff Fuller, Fuller Embroidery Works, may be coming in if he gets a chance. But hey, this is live. These things happen. We'll see how it turns out. I'd love to have Jeff on. And also, Jeff, like I said, always welcome on the show. Bob says, hello, Eric. Hi, Bob. Happy to have you in. Frank, out in the UK, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Frank. Thank you for being on. As always, awesome community member, Frank. And Ramona says, I have to get those book links again. I lost them. Yeah, we'll go back for the books. There was a couple different books that Josh shared. And honestly, I don't know them right off the top of my head, even though I'm the one who entered the links in. Maybe I can grab them later, but suffice it to say, he did have some really good books about making things simple. One was Donald Miller about simple marketing, so the guy who wrote Story Brands. So that was one of them, and the other one I cannot remember for the life of me. I'd have to go look that up, and I can't do that while I'm on live on the show, but we can try. Yeah, there are awesome books. So check out the two other guys. Well worth it for the extended content, if nothing else. Barb saying, hi, Eric. Hi, Barb. Happy to have you in. Ramona, the chemistry in fish water. Hey, you're a technical person. You're a digitizer. You'll get there. But yes, I agree. Sometimes you don't want to add extra intensity and extra work to your day. And I would say trying to do a regular fish tank can be a pain, or a saltwater fish tank, from the friends I knew. And actually, I worked at a shop. Believe it or not, one of the shops I worked at early on in my career had a large saltwater fish tank. In the front offices, the offices had a large built-in in-wall saltwater fish tank. And let me tell you how we dealt with the water. I made lots of embroidery for a local aquarium company. That's how we dealt with all the chemistry in the water. So, yeah, I don't know either. What I will say is, if you are in this business for any period of time, you know that there's a very high likelihood you'll be bartering and trading to make things happen. And that's definitely something we had to do. And to the good people of the Hanauma Bay company out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I hope you enjoyed those shirts, because we were absolutely necessary to have you in to work on that tank when I was there. So there you go. Yeah, for the fish water announcement on there, my way of handling that, more embroidery. But that is my way of handling most things. In any case, Barb says, no cats here, just one dog, golden retriever. Love dogs, grew up with dogs, so that's awesome. Give the golden retriever lots of pets for me. And Justin, our mentor digitizer himself, an educator, says, good morning, Justin, and happy to have you in. So, what do we want to talk about today, guys? It's hard not to just talk about the show we just had. Terry and I were on talking with Josh, and he talked so much about profitability and marketing and making things simple, and some of the things that I have been standing on my soapbox on for so long in the business. And I can talk about them a little loosely here, but I would love for you to go check out the episode. Truth of the matter is, though, I think lots of people do not manage things because they don't really measure them. It's so hard. People like, I'm going to assume, and I'll speak for you whether I probably should or not. Everybody who's out here in the comments today loves decorating, loves embroidery, loves some portion of the garment decoration industry, apparel decoration industry, hey, patch making industry. And so you love the creative side of this thing. But it's really easy for us sometimes to forget to do the other side, to do the business part of it. But I think it's really great to see people who are into the marketing side of it and realizing, especially the cool thing when you're talking with Josh about this stuff, and with some of the people who really get it, he's all about this kind of customer journey and about the experience. If you really listen to what he was saying, some people can be really cynical and say, hey, marketing is just selling people stuff. Marketing is ways to, to motivate people's behaviors. All of that has some truth to it. But a lot of what he was saying was, hey, isolate the person who you're selling to, find their dreams and nightmares. That's another thing that was so awesome that he said. That I love this as a way of isolating the stuff and making it a little simpler. The concept of dreams and nightmares, it's like, what does that person find that is joyful in their business that you can help enrich or create, or in the work that they do? We're talking about the individual person who's buying from you, even if you're talking about business to business. And what are the nightmares? What are the things that bother them that make their job harder? And is there a way that decorated apparel can serve that? And that's something I feel like I've been preaching for a long time. You look for the things that are going to, number one, I mean, we all have the things that we do in our own businesses that help, which is to reduce friction, make it easier to buy from you, make it easier for people to find out what they need, and honestly, make it fun. I know it sounds goofy to think of business as fun, but if someone has a better time with you, that's part of the value proposition. And I mean, it's not always one way of being, working in this industry for a long time and having different salespeople, working at larger kind of medium-sized companies where we had multiple salespeople, I will fully agree with you that not every communication style was for every customer. And we finally got to a point where when you have multiple salespeople, let's say you have 4 or 5 salespeople, you start to understand whose tribe is what kind of people. And we would send people to different tribes, right? We would have a certain kind of person who wants a salesperson who's all no nonsense, who is an order writer, who just wants to get down to the business of the thing and doesn't want to do the creative side, doesn't want to do the educational side of it. Totally fine. And we would send people to that person and say, all right, this person's all, no nonsense. They're going to want to talk to this person. Where there's another person who wants to have a nice chat for whom this salesperson is poison. Like coming at it in a completely business-like fashion and not having the chit chat, not having the fun portion, and not having the kind of back and forth literally makes their experience with us worse. And the sad thing is when you're a solopreneur, it may mean that you have to kind of engineer your own, code, your own way to switch into a communication style that people like. But it also means you have a tribe there that you can be searching for that likes your style of communication. The thing that's funny about it is that some of these things are intangibles. They're not always as measurable. Love that Josh talked about the measurable side of things a lot. He talked about KPIs, key performance indicators, these are all fancy ways of saying things to watch that help you understand how you're doing. I think the best thing that he really talked about, though, really has to be probably that dreams and nightmares thing. If you've got somebody who's buying something from you, the best thing you can do is understand what they're looking to achieve and how you can help that happen. And then secondarily, what they're looking to avoid and how you can help them avoid that. The big one that I always talk about when I'm teaching kind of how to sell and how to make things work, especially in e-commerce, is if you're dealing with people in the group space. So let's talk not business to business. We're talking about groups and teams and stuff like that. Online ordering is a great way for them to not mess with order forms or collecting money and stuff. They can just get in, take orders. They don't have to mess with it. And you can avoid some of your pain points, like having to worry about spelling and stuff on people's names. So there are ways to use tools that reduce friction. That's always there. But I love this concept that's also kind of something from StoryBrand, which is you make your customer the hero of the story. And I think that's an awesome thing to do too. So yeah, like I said, check in on that stuff. Check in on that episode. Great stuff from Josh. But what I have here, it looks like I might just be being joined by our special guest. So if you guys want to see our special guest, let me bring him in. We have, as already guessed by Yosta, Jeff Fuller is in from Fuller. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Eric. How's it going?
Oh, going good. Happy to have you on. Thank you for coming in for the half of the half.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Sorry, it took me an extra 15 minutes.
Oh, hey, not a problem. Okay, for you guys, just so you don't feel like Jeff didn't show up or something, I asked 5 minutes to showtime or a few minutes before showtime and said, hey, can you jump on? So this is not Jeff's fault. This is my fault. These things happen. It's going live. But thank you for being on. So what's up in your neck of the woods? What's going on with you today?
Oh, I mean, I've been running production, getting ready for Applique Getaway. That's going to be here. It's on my other screen, 15th through the 17th.
There you go.
And just getting ready for that and trying to stay afloat sometimes, the chaos that comes in when you do embroidery and educate. I know you probably get hammered a lot with questions all the time, and
literally every day, multiple times a day. Absolutely.
Yep. So some days you can get derailed pretty well and not get anything accomplished. And I'm having one of those days that I'm not getting very much accomplished. I think my checklist I've got 8 things to do, and I'll be happy if I can get one of them off.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I will only keep you for like another 15 or so minutes, so don't feel too bad. I will try not to contribute to the difficulty of the day. I will say, however, since you mentioned it, and I think it's well worth mentioning, check out appliquegetaway.com where you can see education from your favorite folks, including Jeff from the Embroidery Nerd. So go check that out when you guys have a chance. Applique Getaway on July 15th through 17th. So coming up pretty soon.
Yeah. It'll be awesome. It's because Justin's going to be there teaching, Matt's going to be there teaching, Lisa Shaw's going to be there teaching, DJ Anderson's going to be there teaching. So it's going to be. I'm looking at their class instructors. It's going to be a pretty stacked event.
No, that's a really good group of folks.
I have to get Christine to convince you to go, but I think it might be a little too soon. You're about to spit that water all over you.
Yeah, you guys almost got to wear my coffee virtually. Yeah, I know. July is a little too quick. I actually am in the same boat as you. I have a lot of stuff to catch up on. Here's the trap I get into, and before I stop, just once again, guys, go to applicategetaway.com and check out those classes before I drop that out. The problem I have with my productivity sometimes is that I've got so many irons in the fire that I will make incremental progress on all of them, but that means they all are waiting to get finished. And
Yep.
don't get me wrong, if I keep doing that, there'll be 1 month where suddenly everything in the world long term gets done. Like everything will suddenly just come together, and that looks very good during that month, but the 2 months previous on all the long term projects don't look as nice. But at the
Well,
same time, focusing on one thing would probably be a better call on this one.
they say sometimes if you're stuck to just pick something simple and do it, but that's when you do that, that's how you get incremental progress on everything. Because you go to the simplest thing in all of your tasks instead of in one task, and then 3 months later you're like, oh, I'm getting close to being done.
Well, no, the problem is if you don't filter. Because everybody
Yep.
says, okay, pick something that takes 5 minutes. If that's a random question from someone who's listening, I love answering you guys' questions, but to be honest with you, that's not really what brings in the money for any of us, answering random questions. So I can spend all day answering 5 minute questions that don't necessarily have to do with my top priority thing I have to do under contract. So it's one of those things we have to realize that there's also filtering and prioritizing. It's like
Yep.
the other thing that happens, and this is what I'm really bad at, if something is immediate or feels urgent, but it's not actually important, where it's like, no, this has to get done right now, but it's not actually important, so it should either be forgotten about or moved off, even though somebody feels urgent about it. The loudest and the newest thing sometimes gets attention where it probably shouldn't. That's a tough
Yep.
one.
Definitely the what do they call it? The customer who's the loudest gets done first.
Oh yeah,
Or
squeaky wheel. Squeaky wheel
squeaky
gets the
wheel gets
grease.
grease.
That is absolutely the case, and sometimes people really don't deserve their squeaks to be answered. I don't want to say it in a nasty way, but maybe there's the nasty way. But yeah, it's that, and the person who continues to follow up with you, and it may be someone who really you don't need to work on, but they continue to poke, poke, poke. Sometimes they just get the attention because they're poking, but they may or may not be the actual high value, task for the day. And that is hard to admit, but yeah, sometimes it's hard to say, all right, here's my boundaries and this is where I need to be for the actual project that needs to get done to get finished. And that's a tough call sometimes.
So I love Yosta's comment down there on the
Oh
bottom.
yeah, at the bottom here. Yeah, PhD equals project half done. Yeah, we all have our PhDs in embroidery here because I think there's plenty of half done projects sitting. I'm gonna wager within arm's length of both of us. I can vouch for mine.
Yeah, I've got it. It's yeah. I've got a bunch of beanies. I have to clean up the backsides and fold them up and get them out, and then I
Yep.
have to. I'm amazed I have customers ordering beanies in June, and they actually ordered them in May.
Yep. No, I believe it. It is absolutely how it's going. There are people who are still ordering heavy stuff, and honestly, the other thing that's happening now I'm seeing is people having such stock problems that they've decided if they have the money to keep the order in, they just keep the order in whether the stock's there or not. When you were talking about this, where you had a client who just waited on stock for months, suddenly the stock's in, and now you're busy because you've got to fulfill on something that you didn't have stock for all that time.
Yep. Yeah.
Challenge.
It works. You have good customers that they those are the ones that this guy's a really good customer,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he also runs a business, so he totally understands all of it. He you know he'll send me a message after a couple of weeks of putting in an order, and not every day after it. He's happy with all the pricing. He's a good customer, and if he's willing to wait for the exact hat he wants, I'm more than happy to let him wait and try and fit it in later.
What's always hard about that is if you have done this before, and I've been in this case where you take like a deposit from somebody, if you're working in a deposit shop, that can be dicey. Trying to
Yep.
get things in and out and making sense of that can be a little bit dicey, dangerous, or otherwise unsatisfying because you can have issues with that. I
Yep.
don't like to say that, but it's absolutely the case where it's like once you're holding someone's money in any way, shape, or form, that request that was a nice request at one point becomes a demand really quickly, and it can be hard to manage your time. So, as much as I love the money upfront version of everything, there are issues for sure with
Yeah.
the money upfront version because it does mean when there are problems, now you're holding the bag, and it's on you to
Yeah.
fix those problems.
And this guy, I don't charge him a deposit.
Yeah.
You know, you learn your customers, you know which one. Yeah, you get a deposit, because if you don't, you're not going to order. And then you've got the ones that, you know, you can trust them. You can put them on 30-day, 60-day terms that they're going to pay. So, you know, it sucks to tie up your working capital sometimes, but if your customer's good and it's going to continue, then, you know, it's that business decision that you got to make, that I'm going to be willing to tie up my own working capital because this customer's good and I know I'm going to get that order, versus just tying it up for fun.
Oh, well, I think that's the thing. These days, like we had Josh on, he was talking about CRMs, right? He's talking about, customer resource management, or he was talking about systems by which we follow up with people and grade them. And if you've ever done marketing or email marketing or use a CRM, you know that there are ways where, hey, if they click on this link, then we up their score. If they answer this many things, if they open these emails, we up their score, so we can find our high value customers. People act like that's a new thing, but we all know that we've been scoring customers in our heads forever. You don't necessarily have to be on a CRM to have a number attached to it, but we know when we have a reliable customer who we can absolutely get. We know they're going to pay. We know they're good for it. They've been working with us for a long time. We have an idea of the volume that they're working on. It's great to have it in numbers, but we know that high value customers exist.
Yep.
I don't want to say that. Hey, it's one of those times where I whisper at the mic again and be like, okay, there's no customers here, right? Yeah, we know that there are favorites. There are favorites and people who get extra stuff. In fact, we've got a piece from Mike says here, just wrapped up a job, one-off subbed applique for a guy I've been picking away at for months. Felt so bad, but that's also why I don't take pay up front these days. But the customer is mind blown. That made it worth it. Yeah, there are projects like that make sense, and there are customers for whom that is a good call to do that work. You have to kind of use your best judgment on that. That's like people kind of get a little contentious about doing decorated samples as a promotion. I think we all know when we have a customer that we feel like is on the line where we're willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
Customer acquisition costs. If you're doing it with online marketing, you can evaluate it and say, how much does it literally take to tip a brand new customer who's new to your market? I know working on Amazon, I actually can see who's new to brand and say, all right, how much am I paying for a new to brand customer who's now familiar with my brand versus one who I've already had before? But that's the thing. Those decorated samples, things like that, you can tell ahead of time. You're like, here's somebody who's got some possibility here. Like they've got a bunch of employees that have high turnover. They use uniforms that I know I can produce, and it's this kind of outlay. You know when you have that person on the line, and sometimes going that one step beyond email blast marketing, the stuff that everybody can do cheaply, really can make a difference.
Yep. Yeah,
for sure. We have a couple more comments I'm going to bring up. I like this one too. Barb says she has the UFO for unfinished objects. So yeah, project half done. We got the PhD. We got the UFO now. Unfinished objects. That's the craft world version I've heard many a time. Lots of unfinished objects flying around out there.
It's called the stash, and then they destash, and all the unfinished projects go to somebody else's house.
What people don't want to talk about is that a lot of crafting, some people's hobby is crafting. Some people's hobby is buying craft supplies. And they don't want to say that's the hobby, but it's the shopping they actually like. And that may or may not go in the business.
I could make so many things with this new thing. Let me buy it.
Sure you can.
And put the dust cover on it. And it looks great.
I cannot tell you how many times I've been at a trade show where somebody is talking to somebody in the equipment manufacturer going, okay, so I need to buy X and X for my machine. And they're like, oh, so how's it been going with that machine that you bought from me last year? And they're like, oh, well, I'm just opening it up and I want to make sure I have all the supplies. And you're like, you bought it from me last year or 2 years ago. You're just opening it up. Okay, let's start again.
You know what gets me about that?
Yeah.
I literally just ordered, like I have a Sawgrass 500.
Yeah.
Don't really use it that much. I'm not a huge in sublimation. I mean, I've ran 100 prints through it in the last 3 years. And I'm wanting to get a little bit more into it. And so I had a project I wanted to do, and I had to buy the bypass tray for $183. And so I bought the bypass tray, and it's probably going to sit in the box for a month before I install it and get working on this other project. So it cracks me up because I do that too, to a point. And I literally just did it.
I would wager though that you know what you're trying to do with it. That's the thing that
Yeah.
makes it different, because there's two different kinds of people on this scale. If you get something because you know you're going to move into a market, because by the way, if you guys don't know, that's a sublimation printer. Bypass tray allows you to print much larger transfers. I know because I had an SG and I had the big bypass tray we bought immediately because we want to do some full front printing. But it's like, if you know the market you're going to move into, that's 100% better than the folks I see who literally just walk in and go, I want a side business. I'm going to buy 3 different machines from different things and just start. Or the poor benighted souls who go, oh yeah, I know people like shirts, so I bought an embroidery machine. Now what do I do?
And then you find out they like T-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you have a little bit of a learning curve in front of you. I'm sorry about that.
You should have bought a vinyl cutter. Oh,
I'll say this. We had this talk with Josh earlier. When I find people who are embroidery only shops, I absolutely recommend that heat press. A heat press is the next purchase. If you don't have one when you buy your embroidery machine, you absolutely should have a heat press. And hey, I'm not just being influenced because Nikki's here. So, Sassy Nation's here talking sublimation now. Like, you said sublimation and you manifested Nikki to show up. So
it's that new thing. If I would have said I bought my blanks on Amazon, 50 of them would have showed up.
She said, I heard sublimation. I was like, hey, I know something about that. Yeah, you do. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. It's hard not to want to get into new technologies, but I do think it's worthwhile to say, hey, we should probably learn a little bit ahead of time about what these technologies are, and know where we want to go with the market. It's not just buy it and they will come. You are going to have to market it to somebody. You're going to have to make it clear to people you can do stuff.
And I think one of the things that really kills people, and it took me probably 2 years in business before I realized this, right?
Yeah.
You get new equipment, you try to add things to diversify. But really, when it comes down to it, you can do one thing. You have 2 arms, and you can't operate 10 things at once. And so then it becomes, I'm either doing this thing or that thing or that thing. And it's not, I mean, you're adding to your diversification.
Yeah.
I'll do air quotes, but you're not adding to your productivity. You're probably subtracting from it to be able to learn all that kind of stuff. And it can be really tough when you're, and I've been there, when you're looking at your job list and you're saying, I'm going to make more money doing that job, and that job, and this job, I'm not going to make as much money. And it's because I can't do these 2 jobs at the same time. I can only do one or the other.
Oh yeah. And I think the thing is this, it can make sense if you've got dead time in your day and you don't have a market for more of the thing you're already doing.
Yep.
I think that's usually not the case. Most of the time when I talk to somebody, they have not gone to the edge of promoting what they can get out of their one decoration utility. Yep. Most of the time they haven't, especially solopreneurs. Like, if you are a solo on an embroidery machine, I still think the heat press is a super good buy for a multitude of reasons.
Oh, however, you need one. There's no debate on that one.
No, you need a heat press. I think that's just the truth. I feel like that's the truth. But you're right. And even when you have multiple people, I'll say this, I came from shops that were, tens of people who were working at the shops. That's where I worked at. I mean, I was not a solo guy, though I did often run these little side businesses inside of the thing, that units that was, one person. But we would bring in a new technology without realizing, oh, this means one of our people who's currently engaged in making money is going to have to stop, get educated, and now push buttons and pull handles on whatever piece of equipment just dropped into the shop, unless we're going to hire somebody.
Well, and
if
don't
you're
forget
running
the
a capacity
rate.
Yeah.
You get somebody that's good at one thing, and then you try to teach them something else, and your spoilage rate goes up. It's going to cost more in documents, garments. Yep. It's been a morning. But it's like, you have to really fully look at that investment. And that's not what a lot of people do. When they look at it, the salesman will be like, you can make $20 an hour. And it's like, yeah, I could in 2 years when I actually learn how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And same thing when we're learning digitizing. I know you and I both have this discussion with people all the time when they want to bring digitizing in-house. I'm like, don't do that as a money-saving thing at first. There are many good reasons to do digitizing in-house for yourself and to learn it, not to pay somebody the $5 to $30 to $100 for the tape that you want, quote unquote tape. You can hear how old my business was that I came from. Not to pay for the file is not the best reason. It is a reason. It's one that a lot of people are selling on, whether that's a little disingenuous or not, but it's not the best reason.
Well, I mean, look at it. Your machine can make $60 an hour on up, right? You're digitizing, you're making $30 on 2.5 hours when you're first learning.
Yep. You might want to think about how that works for profit. That's where the numbers make sense.
And
Yeah.
see that comment from Nikki right there.
Yeah.
This is why people have me make designs for the sublimation, is because you can make money a little quicker while you are learning. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a lot of people
is not a dirty word.
Yep. And that's people that get into embroidery. They don't look at having somebody else do it. They're just hardline. I'm going to learn to do this. And they don't know their machine. They don't know digitizing. And usually their machine's up for sale in a year.
Yep. So I'm going to do something unprecedented. We're going to go for a little slight extra bonus time. We're technically at the half hour. I know. Aaron's not here. He can't stop me. So we're going to go slightly bonus time, a few more minutes. And also, let's go do some comments quick. And also, I'm going to say we have another special guest I'm going to try and bring in for just a comment, because I did add something else. I added this in the Embroidery Nerd group. So I have somebody else here who's going to wait for just a second, and I'll try and bring you in. But let's just grab a couple more comments, and we'll finish out with a couple minutes over. Don't tell Aaron, all right? He's traveling, and he doesn't know. All right, so we have a couple more people talking about this. Ramona says, I did that with my white toner transfer, I'm assuming, printer. White toner printer, I've had it for a year now and used it maybe a dozen times. Building the website and learning the craft, that's still part of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love to see people hit the ground running, but you also have a business that's working. So, yeah, that is one of those things that can happen. Barb, yep, heat press with embroidery and a steamer, 100%. Get a garment steamer if you can. I find them incredibly useful for embroidery. And honestly, I wouldn't know what to do with water-soluble toppings without it. I really prefer having it for taking those off. And then
I tell you, have you ever used wash away, tear away?
Yeah. Yes, I have.
I did that for the first time. That stuff's awesome.
It's cool stuff. Yeah, if the embroidery design will support well enough, yeah, really cool stuff for apparel. Also, if you can launder stuff. If you can launder stuff so you really get it to actually go all the way away, it's gorgeous. Gorgeous stuff for the right kind of embroidery. Doesn't work for everything. Some stuff looks awful after you unhoop it. The
corner of a baby blanket, it looks fantastic.
Every time somebody says, "What's this thing that's in the back of a commercial piece of retail decoration?" It's almost always the wash away, tear away. If you guys don't know what the stuff is, you tear it away, and when you wash it, it leaves just some fiber behind the embroidery. So, like I said, well worth it. Cool stuff to look at. And materials, you can learn a lot about materials without adding more equipment. You can add different higher value options to your shop just by adding different materials. So think about that for a second. Brian Bailey, Creative and Brilliance, is on say, oh my God, the half plus overtime. Yeah, like I said, we don't do this, but I'm doing a few minutes today because we just got Jeff on a little late today. It's been a rough day for everybody.
It hasn't been my 30 minutes.
No, Jeff only got like 12 or 15. I got to give him a little bit. I just was leading in, the talent wasn't even here yet. Right. So Brian says,
if I'm the talent, then we're in trouble.
Oh, if we weren't in trouble before, here comes special guest number 2.
Woo.
We have Matt joining us from the car. He's been trying to get in. I apologize for that, but now Matt is in, also from the Embroidery Nerd. And from
so I get 30 minutes now, right?
No.
I think so, personally.
World's not fair, man. No, we don't just keep starting the 30-minute timer. Everybody, someone shows up.
Oh, this would turn into one of those marathon things. We'd be doing this for like 15 hours because people would just come trickling in constantly.
I'm going to tell you guys, we are on my Twitch channel right now as well as everything else. We could just go streamer and 24 straight hours of embroidery right now.
And Justin's waiting to pop in too, so there's another 30 minutes.
Luckily, he's not on here.
Okay, you can't see that.
Okay. What I don't.
Not 30 minutes.
Yes, apparently he is.
Luckily, start the timer over.
Okay. What I don't. Okay, so somebody's still on a delay. I can
start the timer over.
It's you, Justin. I muted your mic. You're on the delay. I can hear you over the speakers. All right, so.
And then he talks. I muted you. Justin talks.
I had Facebook open too. That's why I was.
There's where it is. All right, so
Nikki, go jump in the Discord. You might see a link
in the Super Nerd Discord. I will add you. This is apparently no rules Friday. I've just decided to take over and add anybody I want. So the link is in the Super Nerd.
70-minute half.
Actually, the nerds have taken over your little show.
We stormed it.
Oh, you have?
No, he still has the end live button.
I did just mute Matt's mic on purpose, so yeah, there you go.
Have you cornered?
You have me cornered, but I still have the mute button and the dump button, so I'm just going to make that clear. Still the half, but very thankfully with the nerds on board. Thank you guys. So Yosta says, "Wow, okay, wow, thank you." Matt, you are unmuted. Justin's unmuted. Everybody's unmuted. We can talk, but yeah. So I was talking mostly about profit and marketing. Do you guys have something? Oh, now we can't hear. Okay.
That's because he's mouthing it.
Is he doing it?
He's notorious for that.
You got me.
Him and Justin. Justin will randomly kick you out of the live just for fun. Right
If I don't
before
like,
it goes.
if I don't like what you're saying, I'll just
dump people. All right.
That's pretty
Wow.
much-
Okay.
Moderator.
We're going to test the abilities of StreamYard right now because I now have Mike and Nikki both in the green room. So we're just going to
here we
everybody
go.
on. Everybody's on. All 6 of us are now live. Okay. We said we were going to have a round table eventually. I guess that is today.
It's more like a rectangle table.
This is the round table, huh?
Yeah.
It is now. Okay, so everybody, top tip. Come on. I'm going to put you all on the spot. Top tips. Somebody jump in first.
Top
For
tip.
what?
Top tips for
Know your
decorator.
equipment before you go and sell stuff. Don't go and say, hey, yeah, I can make that. And then all of a sudden you have no clue how to make it.
Okay, I'm going to say my contrary to that. Every once in a while when you can, as long as you communicate with people, try something new and let them know you're trying something new. But that doesn't mean don't know
True.
your equipment, because you do need to know your equipment, know what you're doing. Because I will tell you how many times we've rescued somebody in a big shop. I've rescued people with smaller shops who take on large orders that they can't fulfill. That's one of the things I've done in a multi-head shop the most is have somebody come to me and say, all right, I've been running my single head machine for 5 days overnight and I can't do it anymore. Price me out. What can we do to get this thing on a multi-head and have this job finished that I took that's 2,000 pieces?
And that's just it though.
Yeah.
When people go, oh yeah, I can do that 100-piece order, and they've never even really, for me, because my main business is sublimation, and be able to just do it and not have pressed. My biggest pet peeve is when they've never pressed the product, so they don't know how it's going to react. They don't know their time, temp, and pressure. They know none of the logistics behind it, and they're like, oh yeah, I so can sell you that 100-piece order. I hope you bought a lot of extras because there's going to be a lot of learning curves in there.
We call that no profit job.
Spoilage is real.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
But-
so Mike,
Go
you
for it.
jumped in too. You have to say
Hi.
something. Everybody has to say hi.
Hi.
Hi everybody. I guess if we're doing tips, I got 2.
Right on, do it.
1, don't be so hard on yourself. I just finished a job that I could see nothing but flaws, and the customer had nothing but praise. And the other is always apologize to your graphic artist.
Thank you.
True. I'll agree with those.
That comment was to me, I think, but no apologies. No apologies needed, Mike.
How many V4, 5, 7, 9s have you ever done?
Yeah,
It's okay, Justin. It's okay.
You can tell on how many revisions they are because I always ended in the V in the number, and it's like, here, Mike, here's V22. How about that one?
The kiss of death is naming your file final.
Yes.
Don't do it.
Final. Really final.
V5. No, seriously, if you name something final, you add 5 versions every time. It's like breaking a mirror. If you name your file final, there's 7 more coming every single time.
Yep,
Don't
it's
name
final. It's final part 2, final part 3. You end up through the whole alphabet at that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Final 8,
Yep.
final 21.
Or you
Yeah.
start getting into major and minor revisions.
No, totally. That's what we have is R's. I will say that in the Brilliance camp when we're working on things together, we have R. And let me tell you, some of my fonts are, R15, R25. We've had some like revisions where we're like, all right. Now, don't get me wrong. The other thing is, and here's actually, I'll give a tip. Be careful of creep. Working on a project and not limiting the scope of the project will never end. So internal projects are big in businesses. Let's say you start doing organize a shelf, not the whole shop. Because if you do that and then put it in front of other stuff, and if you're somebody who gets hyper focused, which some of us do, you may or may not organize your whole world or continue buying bins for the rest of your life. Find an endpoint for everything, or open-ended projects from your customers too. Find an endpoint.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
There has to be a limit. There has to be boundaries. Same thing with edits. And yes, we do versions for people. There does come a point which it's not a version if they make a major design change. That is no longer a revision.
And it's okay to say no. Like, that's another thing. It's okay to say no, we're not doing that, or no,
Where's
I'm
my
done.
notepad?
Or
That one.
Yep, that's it. Where's the no button? And I think that's probably in business, that is probably the hardest thing as business owners to say is the word no. Because in the back of your head, you're going, well, I know I can do that. That's just one more step. What is it? You try to add that little bit to it. Yep. But I've been in business for 14 years, and it's still, after 14 years, probably the hardest thing is for me to say, no, I'm not doing that today. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And I think that one of the places small business owners forget to say no a lot is when it comes to pricing. People always want something cheaper, or a discount or something like that. No. The guys that run the gas station down the block don't have a problem charging me $2 a liter for gas, which is expensive, just in case you don't want to do the math.
For those of us that don't know what a liter is, it's like half a gallon.
Yeah. And I actually saw this quote: "If I'm too much, go find less." And that's fine. It's when you get less, though, you don't always get quality. You don't always get the best of the person. They're just going to quickly put it out there and be done with it.
Yeah. If you want to pay less, I can always lower the quality of my work too.
Exactly. And that's the one thing I live by.
Yeah. You always have a customer who says, I know a guy who does it for less. And you're like, oh, that's cool. I know a customer who will pay more. Yeah. That goes both ways. You can say that any way you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not the most expensive guy around, but I'm also not trying to be the cheapest. I don't want to put out competition work.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. Mm-hmm. And actually, Brian, let's add more to this screen because we need more. Brian says, no is the most empowering thing to say. Yes is good for customers you like. No is forgotten too often, especially when that voice in the back of your head is saying you don't want this customer. We all know there's poison pill customers. They exist. And the other thing everybody talks about, the Pareto principle, you end up spending 80% of your time on 20% of your profit. Dump some of those high time, low profit customers and find out the opportunities that open up for you. It's hard to do, especially if you're a people pleaser. It can be super hard to do. But the truth of the matter is you're invariably spending more time on low value customers.
And it kind of just suck the life out of you too. They really suck the life out of your creativity. They suck the life out of your business. And you're just like, they're physically just draining on you as a person. I know a lot of you guys do digitizing, but I do, designs for sublimation. Mm-hmm. And you guys were talking about the cost of just going out and buy the file. It's just so much easier than you sitting there fighting with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I sell a $4 file, and you would not believe the amount of people who go, I am not spending $4 on a file. Well, let me just explain it to you. I will sell a file for $4 on Etsy, and I will make $2.40 after the fees. $2.40, okay? And you get to take that one file and sell it however many times you want on a bajillion different products. And I've sold it once.
It's incredibly inexpensive.
And people don't understand that $4 file might be saving you 3 hours worth of work, because it probably took me 3 hours depending on how intricate my design is. And some of my intricate designs might have 150 layers to them. Take me time to do. And I know that it sits there and it makes residual money, and it sits in my shop. I make it once, I don't have to do it again. But they complain. That is probably one of the biggest complaints I get is I don't want to spend $4 on a file.
I'm going to say a not very nice thing, because I get to say the not nice thing sometimes. Here's the not very nice thing I'm going to say. If you're in business and you can't make back the investment on a $4 file, it's your problem.
Yeah.
You're doing it wrong.
It became a you problem, not a me problem.
It's a you problem. It's a business problem. If you can't sell enough off of making that file, if you're not decorating in a way that you can sell something and make back the money for the setup, that's something you got to work on.
Right.
That for sure. And that's not, and hey, that is from someone who's been on both ends of it. I've been an operator, I've been an embroiderer, I've been a digitizer, in-house and out. And I'll still say, if you can't make the money back on that setup, that's you. That is something you need to work on. That is not necessarily something that the setup.
That's also the people that try to justify paying the minimum amount for digitizing from some of the spammers and stuff like that. They spend tens of thousands of dollars on an embroidery machine and then want rock bottom pricing on their digitizing. There's too big of a differential here.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, Mike. They're looking at the bottom line and they don't understand that $5 design that they're like, woohoo, I just saved myself $15. Yet the possible repercussions on running that job over and over and over again in the lifespan of that order, and it's not efficient. It doesn't look good, so you don't have a return customer because it's not quality.
Yep.
It's going to cost you far much more money than that $15, which most of the time you can go ahead and just charge your customer that setup fee, so it's not even a cost that you're absorbing if you don't want to, and you're getting the quality that you need.
Okay, so Matt's gotten off scot-free with saying almost nothing.
Oh, that's not true. You keep mute.
See, no, I do not. Hands above the table. That's his fault now.
I'm just kidding. So my tip would have been exactly what Mike said about the getting hard on yourself, and because that was something I faced. But because I can't say that, one thing that really hit me really hard is when you're buying equipment, read your contract, know what you're getting, and make sure that the company behind it, the machine, and everything can deliver what it says it's going to deliver.
Oh, 100%.
End the scene.
Yeah, no, seriously. If anybody knows that, Matt, you know. Know what equipment you're working on, because otherwise, that's the thing. If you don't know who's going to work on it, it's you. It's you who will be working on that problem, and it's you who will have to solve that problem. All right, with that, I think we're getting close to the end of business time. Did anybody have some finishing thoughts? And then I might we may have one more special guest to bring on for a final word.
Ooh.
But anybody else have a final word that you want to kick in as we get done with this episode of the half?
This was fun. We should do this more.
Is this
I agree. I like this roundtable.
First episode of the second half?
Yes, this is the first episode of the half and a half, the 45-minute version of the half. But
and a roundtable to boot.
Right. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. It was good. And also, like I said, everybody go check out who wants to do the round. We'll just go around the roundup. So you all know ErichCampbell.com. No need to say that again. Jeff, what do you want to pump?
Jeff from Fuller Embroidery Works and the Embroidery Nerd.
Matt?
Matt Enderley from Patchphrase and the Embroidery Nerd.
Nikki?
I am Nikki, and I'm the Sassy Subber at thesassysubber.com.
Anything you want to pimp, Mike?
Church of Speed.
I'll just plug the Embroidery Nerd group for now. It's
nice.
It's a great place to be.
Thank you much. And Justin
Armenta with jadigitizing.com and the Embroidery Nerd.
Nice. Thank you very much for all being here. And for a last word.
Hi, everybody.
You have to unmute.
Yay.
You may have to unmute. Adam's here, so if you guys don't know, Jeff's son Adam's here.
Adam,
what's your last word, sir?
Yo.
What's your company?
That I'm his favorite. That's his last word.
What's your last
I'm
word?
his favorite.
Science.
Science. All right, you heard it here first, guys. Science. All right, folks. With that, thank you guys all for being here, and make sure you're not too hard on yourselves today, and we'll see you again next week. Check out bjjhats.com, so I'll help out with the marketing. Bye, guys.